tonight. We're still missing a few people, but we're going to get started so that you're not just standing around and being delayed in the evening. And first of all, of course, to Luxembourg School of Business, thank you so much that we can use the location. And also to Amcham for your support and also being here, even taking pictures for us. And then also to Rambon, who was also supposed to be on the panel, but unfortunately the CEO got COVID. So he is stuck at home, but kindly has sponsored some drinks for afterwards. So they are present in the room at least. Now, what are we here for tonight? We're here to talk about sustainable business, what it means for the world, and how to create this in companies, create this change to meet the ambitions and the goals, objectives that we set for tomorrow. So, when you think about it, let me ask you a question. Which impact did you do today? So you might not realize it, but every day we go around and have an impact on the world. Some businesses are doing this very purposefully, some people as well. Most of us are still in the learning process. So therefore, today, think about it during this presentation. What are you going to leave behind? What kind of legacy do you want to leave also for your business? Are your actions sustainable? Now, there has been a shift in businesses, and it has gone from being a shareholder economy to a stakeholder economy. What does this mean? It means that people in general, whether it's employees, suppliers, customers, all of them are voting with their feet for having purpose-driven actions, to feel that they are also giving something to the world, especially the younger generations entering the workforce are even more pushing for this. Now, to give you an example of one of the flagship companies in the world, we have Patagonia. They are really seen today as a purpose-driven company. They are doing this out of their leadership. Really, it's almost in their DNA, I would call it, but it has not always been like that. So 10, 15 years ago approximately, even Greenpeace stormed a fair in Hanover in Germany, where Patagonia was present, accusing them of greenwashing. And internal audits in 2007 and 2011 showed that, unfortunately, in their production supply chain, there was indeed labor abuse, human trafficking. So they took a huge hit. Brand image went down, popularity in general in the market, and they had to make a change. If they wanted to remain credible in the market, they had to completely shift. So they went back to the drawing board and started creating a leadership purposefully and driven by values, creating sustainable business, and this is what they are known for today. They became one of the first B Corps in the world. Now, maybe some of you do not know what B Corp stands for. It is a global movement to lead sustainable change. It's a certification that one can get, and me as a B leader, I'm convinced of this. We have IMS with us today, and Laura, you are representing B Corp in Luxembourg today. Just a few weeks ago, this was announced from Benelux B Corp, that you're supporting us B leaders and B Corps in Luxembourg to create sustainable change, to create a legacy for Luxembourg. Now, how do we create a sustainable business? We need to shift our mindset. This the story of Patagonia has shown. And it is proven by studies that it's becoming more and more important. So 2021, McKinsey made a study where about 90% of the people who responded said new businesses that are going to be built will have to build their business on sustainability. 50% of the respondents approximately said you have to integrate it in your value proposition if you want to be there tomorrow. Now the shocking part of it, only 22% are actually measuring it regularly. So we need to change this, and a lot of rules and regulations are slowly being put into place for this, also on EU level. But it's not enough, because people in the businesses are asking themselves, why are we doing it now? Just another report that we have to comply with. This is why we are here tonight as well, to show some light on this topic. Now, going back to the bee leader and the example of Patagonia, as a bee leader myself, I'm really convinced that this sustainable change needs to be done across the organization. It is not just a CSR committee taking care of this. It has to be integrated on all levels, from the strategy into the operational objectives, into the individual and employee commitments, and this is where it gets difficult. Now, it's a growing movement. There's more than 1,000 today in Europe. There is, I just got the exact number, 5 B Corps in Luxembourg at the moment. More in the pipeline of being certified, but it's a tough certification to get, but it's worth it in the sense of creating good and innovating your business model, understanding how everything is aligned and how you need to move forward to be there tomorrow. So, change only matters if it is meaningful. Think about what I said about the impact that you do every day. It has to be meaningful for people to understand why they're doing it. It has to be in their mindset. It has to be in the leadership. It has to be in the attitude of every person to follow this road. So tonight, I'm going to also build on the B Corp certification, show you a bit about the Sustainable Development Goals. What are they? Many of you have most probably heard about them. It's really put in place for the world, for communities, for governance, for businesses, individuals, to collaborate together to create a change for a sustainable tomorrow. Changing the habits. Now, a business can say, well, we need to be profitable first in order to be able to do good, which totally makes sense. That is also in goal number 8. It is said decent work and economic growth. All businesses can relate to that. So there's already one that one can aim at a business. And depending on what you do, what sector you're in, what the interest is, your conviction, and so on, you can build on the others. It's not to be done in one day. Pick and choose the ones that are right for you, but try to build it on it. Again, surveys show that today, 60% approximately are integrating the SDGs in their businesses. However, on paper, often it's not woven into the culture, and this is again where change needs to happen, so that we live it every day. So, what MindForest put together with the Be Leader hat on, and also seeing what is necessary for clients, was to say, okay, how can we integrate this, help you to be sustainable tomorrow? Giving easy access, starting working on your goals, maybe even if one is interested in getting the certification later, it is an easier way to already be on the move towards it. So we build it on the 5 pillars that is also measured in the business assessment from the B Corps. Namely, governance, which of course includes everything about strategy, etc. Then we have the workers, employee culture, the engagement, what you do within the company for the people. But also the community outside, with suppliers, with the community, how you can build around it, what you can do as your business to give back. For the customers, of course, because they are the ones speaking loudly. And the environment. It is not just green, it is really across the business. And for that, I would like to invite my panelists to join me on a discussion of how we can integrate this. With us tonight, we have Cecilia from IMS. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
You are here for the community part and people in general, and of course IMS. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Then we have Frederick Evra from ING, HR manager, and of course for the people inside the company, the employees, and representing again a bank in the financial sector, leading to that financial markets by Professor Julia Negri.
Thanks.
And last but not least, Armin Neusser, CEO of Waze. Please welcome on. So, I'm going to start with a general question to you guys. Sustainability has become kind of a buzzword today. Now, there's a bit of confusion about what it really means. So we just like in one sentence, from spontaneously, what does sustainability mean for you? Don't know who of you wants to start?
May I start?
Yes,
I think
please, Armin.
it's very easy to say it's about the balance between ecological, social, but also economical aspects, and that's not easy. That's not easy. As we are used to manage mainly the financial, the economic aspect, but now we need to learn, existing managers, but also future managers from the LSB and all the others, they need to learn also to manage sustainability exactly the same like the costs. It was more than one sentence. Sorry.
Yes, you will get 1 minute less later on. Someone else from your perspective.
So I
Yes.
may go. So for me, sustainable business, but actually sustainability in general, is how do we want to leave the world for the next generations? And of course, this reflects onto the companies, because in fact it's the companies that in the end make the world. So companies have to be careful about the impact that they have on the planet, so on the environment. Companies have to create a favorable work environment where people are able to express themselves, so social, but this can only be achieved if there are thought leaders, so we get to the governance. So this is what I think.
What about you, Frederick?
I will try in one word, future.
Future. Excellent. Excellent. Sustainable future. That's what we're here for tonight. Thank you.
And maybe I will try these 2 words and say positive impact.
Positive impact.
Impact, yes, but not the one that we are used to.
Positive one. That's good. So we have the future in the room, we have positive impact, we have the governance of the businesses, we have all of them combined with different pillars. This is going to be exciting. Now, if we do start with governance, Julia.
Yeah.
You are really focusing on this in your courses and so on as a professor, and looking at the financial sector, the markets, the demands and so on. But what is green investments actually? And it's almost a hype today because we hear it all the time. You have to be green, you have to invest in green, you have to, everything is just green.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
So I have to say that, of course, we can kind of say that it's a hype, but it's actually a good hype. And as I said before, the markets, or anyway the business community, typically reacts to the need of the humankind. So on the one side, we have climate disasters that can be caused by the man, like oil spill in Mauritius or Gulf of Mexico, but we also have like nature-driven disaster like Storm Sandy or wildfires. So this is on the one side. On the other side, we have, as I said, the need of people to feel comfortable in their work environment. They have to express themselves. They have to be, I would say, included as for who they are really. And we can only achieve that if we have governance, if we have really leaders and managers that care. So what I really like, honestly, is the definition that I found on the website of the European Commission. So it refers to the process of taking all these ESG that I mentioned before into consideration when carrying out business. But I think that we should see at this like in a sort of puzzle where there's no one that starts before and the other ones react, but actually we have one first mover in this puzzle, and that is a regulator. Of course, everything starts from the need of the mankind, but then it's reflected by the regulators for sure. And we are lucky because in Europe we have the EC that cares about these topics. So we have some directives like SFDR or European taxonomy. So on the one side, we want to say how transparent are you in these kind of investments, but also what are these kind of investments. So once that we have said what is this investment, we also have to be able to measure this. And of course, who then, cascading effect, who is implementing this? The investors, because it's them that actually at any level will fuel the business of the development of businesses. And we have, I don't want to lecture, so I'm going to cut it short. We have different kinds of investors, from financial to impact. So different level of interest into sustainable, because sustainable is a good topic, but it's not for everyone. So there are some investors like financial only. They may do something that is sustainable, but it's not in their mission. So it's not among their goals. And then we have responsible investors that actually try to mitigate risky actions just to protect their value, and sustainable investors that actually adopt in a proactive way actions to be sustainable. And then we have, I would say, impact investors that actually adopt social challenges. But then, okay, we have regulators and then investors, and then where does it lead to us? The companies, so the equities. So for public markets, so capital markets, it's kind of easy because they get, they have to disclose data, so it's kind of easy to understand if a company is acting sustainably or not. We have our Luxembourg Green Exchange that is one of the pioneers in this field. We are very lucky again because we have Euronext that is at the forefront of green bonds and sustainability linked bonds. So really, we are very lucky. But then when it comes to private markets, then everything is like private, so blind. So as we were saying before, for private equity, so in private markets, there's not, and here is where, I would also like your opinion. There's not yet a commonly agreed metrics, commonly agreed KPIs, because there are companies that do so good and they are not good at saying it. So investors, they have to know, okay, they know, but also the rest of the world needs to know. Because, okay, it's good if your family know, but sometimes it's also good if the rest of the world does. So I think that if we will have this conference 5 years from now, maybe we will get the answer to that part also. So, of course, we are trying to provide assistance to investors to try to figure out some unified KPIs to tackle what they do in terms of sustainability. And this is all very good, but if there's not something that put their stamp, so auditors and some rating agencies that, okay, say this is really sustainable, then it's all for nothing. So in the end, there are also bodies that need to certify that a company is really an ESG champion. And then this is all a cycle, so it goes back to the regulators that once we will have a very, I would say, smooth way of publishing and way of assuring this data, we'll get back to improve it even more, and then the circle continues. So this is...
So those are changes that are coming, and you said it's going to be completely different if we take it 5 years from now.
Yeah.
And this is of course also because of the stakeholders now speaking up and market changes,
Yeah.
market demands.
Yeah.
How are you seeing those changes? And also, is it worth it for the investors to really go and dig deeper into it?
Yeah, so if we can go maybe to the next slide, we can actually do good. So be sustainable and do good for the environment and for the people, but also help our investors performing well. So we can do well while doing good. And this is a chart, if you can see that. So the green line is this is sourced by JP Morgan. So the green line, the line in the middle, is an industry neutral portfolio. And this is the yield on the portfolio. On the I would say, dark purple line, we have a portfolio that invested in the 20% of the best companies with the best ESG score as drafted by JP Morgan. You can see that it performed better of 2.9%. And then in the line below, we have a portfolio that invested, again, neutral in terms of sector, so across every sector of the world, in the companies that were the 20% worst ESG performer. And you can see that it performed 1.80% worse. So
It's paying off.
it's paying off. Even if, an investor say, okay, maybe there's a high, maybe I'm not convinced. Look, you should be convinced because in fact, it's paying you back. And it's not just in terms of return, but also in terms of, maybe if you can go on the next chart, of volatility and of return on equity, which in the end is what we care about. You can really see that in the light blue charts, we have again top ESG performer, and in the blue line we have the worst ESG performer. We can see that their ROE, so return on equity, is way larger, but not just in Europe. In all the world, so first couple of bars is an index of every country of the world, then Europe, okay, North America, emerging markets, and Japan. So it's not just something that we have in Europe, it's something that is spread across the world. And the same goes for the volatility, where, on the contrary, we have that the worst performers in terms of ESG are the most volatile. So, again, they're yielding less risk, they are more volatile, and they have a low ROE. So, why are we even talking about this? It's there, black and white. So I think it also pays off very well for investors.
Excellent. Thank you, Julia, for explaining this to us and even showing us that it is worthwhile investing in the greens and the sustainable portfolios. Now we have with us Frederick Everett. You are from...
Yeah, I just wanted
yes,
to...
you want
sorry
to add
interrupt.
something?
Yeah,
Yes,
just
please
wanted to add something, because of course it's so important for as an investor to get the information that are so thanks to that I will take my decision. The same for the funds, of course, and the funds manager. IFRS, if I'm right, is working on that. On IFRS, I will try to do it better. Is working on standards, reporting standards on accounting, and so they are working as well on sustainable standards, sustainable reporting standards. So that's really, as you said, so important, so that investors will have the ability to make the choice. and see what is in the report. For example, ING is already publishing a sustainable report on all these topics, and we have some KPIs within. But once again, it's the regulator and the standard reportings that will generalize this part and so have an impact on all the society. So sorry.
Absolutely. No, this is a perfect transformation into the people inside the bank, inside workplaces, and so on.
And what was really fun actually about that is that Emmanuel Faber, I don't know if you know, someone of you know it, he was the former CEO of Danone. Well, how can I say that? Not too frankly, Danone was one of the first purpose company, and then at a certain moment of time, but the shareholders were not totally okay with that, and so he had to leave. He moved to creating and be the responsible for creating this new sustainable reports, because it's so important to have an impact on all the society, yeah. and to just be able to see and to make difference between peers and peers. Should be at the moment we compare peers and neighbors, and that's really the problem. Yeah.
So this is really interesting, because there you have a global organization where there's been a bit of up and down whether it should be done or not and so on, but today they are convinced, and I mean he's been moved even further into it. If we're taking it into all those customer demands that are in the market and in the financial sector with the portfolios, etc., of course this will have an impact on employees and the expectations of them, but also from them. How are you dealing with this today in ING?
Yeah, but it's part of the governance as well.
Yeah.
We start working on that. At first, we work with clients, and of course, we give opportunity to invest in green portfolios, in green funds, and so on, and also in green credits, mortgages, and so on, especially for business banking and for wholesale banking for the big companies. But that's at the customer side. Now, in the employee side, actually, well, we have to work on the mindset of people, really, and it goes via different ways, different channels, different messages from the regulator, of course. And another example from the regulator is that, and it makes the link with the governance. Actually, what we will have to do is for our top leaders, their bonuses will be linked for 1/3 on sustainable objectives. Well, what does it mean in reality? Is that it will be the same for senior managers, experts, employees, and so on. So that's how it cascades through the other organization. Now we change our strategy, including ESG, and making the difference on that level as well. Not only, and I really appreciated your one of your first slides from stakeholder from shareholder to stakeholder. It's really something important, and especially as you said in new generation. And so how to spread that to the whole organization via the strategy, via what we call in HR world performance and reward. Really the performance, the fact that you get personal targets, annual personal targets that are integrated. I have some ESG, more S targets, as I'm in HR. and then via also other communication, for example, which is really, really important. We have, I would say, tons of images, I took only one, available to change the mindset and to show a bright future and not the negative part. And it's all that will make us make the difference and make for each employee the difference. So that's it for the governance part. For example, also our remuneration policy will be changed, has already changed, and in the banking sector we have the European Union, but we have what we call the European Bank Authority that imposes as well a framework. Within that framework, we have a framework on the remuneration policy that ask us, or require us, impose us to have ESG targets on annual policies.
But how do you deal with that? Because I mean, this is something complex. Because when employees are used to a certain system, and suddenly it is then imposed on them through regulations, so on, that maybe, I don't know, company car is taken away or something, and I have to take the bus and train, tram, are different things that are happening. How are you dealing with this in the employee experience?
Touch by touch,
Yeah.
step by step. We can't do it in once, for sure. Of course, we could do much more, but we do it step by step in different parts. You talk about the car policy, which is another example. We changed it 2 years ago to have a cap, to speak as a financial guy, sorry, to have a maximum level of CO emission for each car that is leased to employees. We don't have only people that appreciate it, but at the end, it's just a fact, and it's not even a topic anymore. Well, it was 2 years ago, but not anymore. And so that's how it's important also to put a framework which is challenging, of course, and so that the behaviors will change via that framework as well. Yeah. But that's on the painful part, I would say, but even if it's not for me. But on the other side, we work a lot on employees' engagement, motivation, and on all the small things that makes ING a better place to work. For example, we work a lot with ASTF, which is the health organization for the financial sector here in Luxembourg. They organized for us lots of trainings on mental health, on against burnout, on the way to on the food. Next week we will have one on best practices for sleeping better. This kind of thing, which is important as well. Even if not a lot of people go to that training, the message is there. We help people on that part as well, on the S part of the ESG, which is so important. We also created what we call deep listening sessions with employees. That's to say that during 1 hour we have one coach with one manager listening to maximum a group of 10 employees, telling to the manager whatever they want. Of course, we have some questions. Questions of last year, it was how you feel after COVID. which is important as well, but other questions on motivation and so on. And we assure that it's totally anonymous. But thanks to that, we have qualitative feedbacks, which is important as well. Well, I'm not participating to that, as with my HR hat, it's not good, of course. But I work with a coach, and I collect all the information. He gives me all the information totally anonymously. The manager as well knows that it's totally anonymous, and we say that this session will be run by this manager, so that employees from other departments are totally free and free to speak. Sorry, and then I give a feedback to the I make syntheses, of course. There are some personal topics and personal feedbacks that are given, of course, personally, which is important. Of course, we don't give any personal feedback on a broad basis, and it's really not the case. Otherwise, we cut the trust and that's over. But I give the main messages to our executive committee, and we are running now to implement what we could say a kind of virtuous cycle of listening and acting. That's really important, and we try to, as much as possible, create that
loop system
that loop,
of
yeah,
this
yeah, really.
feedback and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
taking action
Yeah,
on
yeah.
it and so on.
What we did as well is we also have employee engagement survey. At the end of the survey, there's the ability for each employee to write down some comments, really interesting. So we did as well a kind of synthesis, and then to the executive committee. And now we are a step further. We nominated each EXCO member as one. So that's kind of also governance, creating the framework so that people see directly the link between what they said and what will be the impact. So that's important. These are all the S topics we are working on, and perhaps the last thing is about what we call now. We created this year, people ambassadors within each department or tribe if you work in an agile environment. And these people are really the link between the manager and the colleagues. And they care about engagement and motivation. Of course, satisfaction via employee experience, which is really important as well. But really, they are there to receive feedback from their colleagues, create also a framework with the local manager, the line manager, and that all the employees will be able to give direct feedback to managers, and at their level also implement actions on that. Because it's not only at the organization level, but it's also important to implement actions at teams level, and people in the teams are also we ask them, and so they are part of the solution, which is so important. Also.
It's really interesting.
It was much more than one word, sorry.
That's perfect. You gained a bit of time with the one word before. ING has created something that is really a statement of purpose-driven, I would say, action within the company, but also for customers and so on, because it's really something that you see all the time, and it is do your thing.
Yeah.
So can you maybe explain a bit what this is about, and when it was first launched, and where did that come?
it's all we launch. It's a signature.
Yeah.
It's really the
Tagline.
yeah. And well, we are an enabler bank,
Mm.
and our purpose is really to empower people, and so that's why. And we can use it for talking to customers. We can use it for talking to investors. We can use it for talking to you. We can use it to talking to employees. And with that, it's really important because each of us, we are part of a group, but each of us counts as well. And what you are doing is also important, and no judgment about it. We use a lot for the DNI, of course, diversity inclusion campaign. So that's why it's so, from my point of view, it's really powerful, and it's really from communication and HR. We use it also.
To motivate.
May I say something about you? That you, we were colleagues
Yep.
a few years ago, but I don't remember if it was already there or not.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the very beginning. Yeah.
Yes.
You have your answer.
Direct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it was very interesting for me. At this time, I was an intern, and I was discovering company world, business world, and it was very good example of what companies can do to have everybody on board and to be sure that they feel good and safe, for example, also at work, because it's a
The
important
psychological safety.
yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, your ING is full of good practices that every company can just pick and replicate in their own structure, even if you are a smaller one, because you can think that ING is a very big group and with a lot of resources. But you do also, I would say, also easy actions that everybody can do too. So you can keep in touch with ING.
But I think it actually goes very broadly into enabling, and there was the Sustainability Award yesterday, and there I do know as well that ING, you were mentioned as one of the people.
Nearly there.
You were nearly there. Next time it will maybe be, you know, that's the goal for the next time. But you were still, I mean, it was all over LinkedIn. I saw it this morning when I woke up, and I said, really great, because now we have both of you today, because you were on the jury as part of the people pillar from IMS. So tell me a bit about IMS. What does that represent in Luxembourg? Because now with the B Corp community and the B leader support and so on, there's a lot going on, but it didn't used to be like that. So.
Yes, exactly. So yes, I can begin with talking about who are we, who is IMS. So IMS is a non-profit and apolitical organization. We just turned 15 this year, so we are a teenager, growing also. And IMS means inspiring more sustainability. And in this goal, we created the leading network of companies active in CSR. CSR, which means corporate social responsibility. In this network, we are working on the three sustainable development pillars, which are here planet, people, and prosperity. And you can see inside that we have several projects. The idea is to bring to the table a subject that not a lot of people want to talk about. And then we just build a project and we ask our members who wants to join. And that's how we work. We collaborate and we co-create between organizations. It can be companies, it can be other non-profit organizations. And when we have this chance, we have the state on board too, so we can grow bigger and have quick impact. So that's what we do. We do not do consultancy. We don't go in your organization to explain how it works, but it's on your own will to come and join those projects. And to answer also your question on how it was 15 years ago, in the beginning, our main goal was to make awareness and tell people what CSR was, because it was quite a rude word. Nobody wanted to talk about it, and nobody believed also in this kind of mission. So we did it quite hard the first few years, because in the beginning nobody understood, and it was not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it was slowly growing into something, and today it's on the top, I would say,
Yes.
you know. It's
Yes.
really where you, I would almost say overwhelmed
Yes.
with interest. How is that experience? Because, I mean, you're creating this link with companies, you're helping them with tools and so on. What exactly do you do for the people pillar then for that?
Mhm.
What can you help the companies with there in order to become more sustainable?
Yes, and indeed now it's time for action. And that's what we propose to our members is to act. And in the people pillar, you can see here on the screen that we have several projects. Maybe one of the biggest one is the Diversity Charter. The Luxembourg has its own charter. Maybe you know there is a national charter in 26 of the 27 European countries, and so we are the representative for Luxembourg. We have now 2,051 signatories, which represents about 20% of the Luxembourgish workforce, because we have as signatories a lot of big companies such as Post, CFL, for example, but we also have very small companies, which is really great, and you can see that we also have a lot of private companies and some non-profit. But the second will show that we have a lot of different kind of company in the signatories. And to talk more about the project, the Diversity Charter is a project in itself. It's a commitment text that every organization can sign, whether you're a company or a non-profit, or even a city. We have several cities here in Luxembourg that signed. And with the charter, we want to create a community. In the beginning, in your introduction, you talked a lot about community, and that's really what we want to do with the charter. To build this network of companies interested in acting for diversity inside, but also outside sometimes, to also have a common vision of what is diversity. Sometimes everybody has its own definition, but there with the signatories we have the community here in Luxembourg, but also community in Europe. And we have also other projects under the umbrella of the charter, with, for example, specific project on LGBTI inclusion. We created a good practices guide. We are at the time creating an e-learning to learn about the basic of what is being an LGBTI person and how we can include more community within organization. We have the same kind of project for handicapped people, for example, that we created a checklist that you can all find online and use it, not only for signatories. All of our tools are open to everyone. And for example, this checklist, it's like a game that you just sit down and see what you're doing, and in terms of inclusion of handicapped people. And then you can also be inspired that you see, oh, we are not doing this because we are not, we do not rethink our recruitment processes, for example. And we also maybe need to talk about community, the Partner Act program. Here the goal is to create bridges and a partnership between companies and non-profit organizations. And this kind of partnership can be donations, for example, that if your company is getting rid of computers a lot of non-profits are really wishing to have them, for example, but also an exchange of competencies and skills that you all have in your companies. For example, give legal advice to small non-profits that is facing difficulties with their contract, for example. That's the kind of partnership we try to do. I could.
You could go
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
I know.
talk.
And you know, there's one thing that I find really interesting, because as it has grown, I mean, this is also again where we've seen there's a mindset shift, also within companies and so on, and where you really have to collaborate closely and bring this awareness in, and the tools that you're creating in order to support companies and so on. But are people really actively coming to you, or do you still have to do a lot of, I would say, pulling them into IMS and the charters, or is it more balanced today? Because I know a couple of years ago, as you said, it was really about creating the awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
But are the companies really saying we are living through and changing our culture and so on with tools, but do they have the difficulty still to change it?
For now, we are not doing any advertising.
Yeah.
For example. So
Okay.
people just come to us to begin to be a signatory. It's very easy. We do not sign. I would say the company sign the charter,
Yeah.
but we do not sign it too. It's just their commitment.
Yeah.
It's just saying that we sign, and so it's really a big commitment. And commitment, sorry. And so no, we do not have so many difficulties to have people, because you see, it's growing over the years. And but what we see is that a lot of companies and organizations are facing the same difficulties. And that's why we really wanted to create a network so they can come together and realize that they are not alone in these situations, in managing diversity, for example, and that they can really share good practices, even if you're not from the same sector or you're not the same size of company. You can really find inspiration and answers in
the community.
Yeah, the community. To experimentation of process.
Excellent. Going from community, I think we can even go broader, Armin, because you are really here for the environment and also everything that is going into the governance as well today, because it's part of taxonomy and it's part of different regulations, and you have a platform with an end-to-end management system in this area of green. Could you maybe explain a bit about how your approach is and why this is important today?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we call it a sustainability management platform, end-to-end, or it's more about a total transparency, and I speak from the perspective of real economy. So it's very interesting to hear you both from the finance industry, and a lot of it's a little bit the impression after hearing you. It's all good with sustainability in the world, and I would like to say no. It's not good. It's not enough. We are totally on the wrong way. We need to really change, disruptive, and a lot of approaches. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But as we see right now, it wasn't mandatory until now. It was nice to have, and there are a lot of initiatives nice to have. And I would really like to say, we talk about we talk a lot about sustainability. What we do, nearly nothing. So at the end of the year, we will see the carbon emissions will be higher than ever, higher than, and in the marketing and everywhere we hear, oh, we are climate neutral, and then I say as a sustainability expert, no, that's not true. Nothing is climate neutral. We need to change, and right now. And at the beginning, I think you thought about what is in 5 years?
Mhm.
So I'm not so positive. If I'm more than 20 years I'm experienced in sustainability, I think it was the year 2003, I was awarded in Germany by the sustainability manager. Nearly 20 years ago, nobody knows what is sustainability. And especially when we see the Paris Agreement 2015, it's more than 70 years ago. Nothing changed. But I'm a little bit more positive regarding Europe, especially according to the EU taxonomy. So it's no longer nice to have to assess the own economic activities for a company, for real economy, so just talking about real economy, and that is important especially for finance industry, so that real economy could really deliver reliable indicators. Now that's not reliable. So I'm next year I will have 30 years of professional experience in the industry. That's not reliable. So what currently is shown to the investors, to the banks, to customers, whatever, it's not reliable. But the change, hopefully, this chart is EU taxonomy. It was a big surprise at December last year when Ursula von der Leyen announced, the Fit for 55 program will be implemented right now, and a part of it is EU taxonomy, and it starts right now with the listed companies for the reporting year 2022. They need to include the EU taxonomy assessment according to sustainability in their financial plan, in their yearly financial report, and that is really a game changer. But to be honest, with our platform, we have the EU taxonomy tool on our platform, but a few customers, a lot of them are not aware about it. Maybe they wait. We wait, and maybe there's no restriction, or there's nothing would happen. But it could be a game changer, but until now I even don't feel it, and I can't say it. The next step will be the CSRD. So you ask especially for clear defined indicators. So in November, hopefully, middle of November, it is announced that the CSRD, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. So be very, very careful. When you told about CSR, in the past it was Corporate Social Responsibility. Now it changed to Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. So reporting will be mandatory, but when we see the whole management cycle, you need to build up a status quo where you are, you need to build up goals, you need to implement actions, you need to show your improvement, and at the end of the year, you can report. In the whole management circle, the reporting is just one aspect. But now it's mandatory, so hopefully backwards, the idea of really to manage sustainability in the companies, to change, to reduce the negative impacts, not just in environment. So our first models on our platform are footprints, carbon footprints, because obviously carbon has the biggest impact on climate change. And Luxembourg is top in carbon,
Yeah.
Very, very high. Yeah, it's unfamous. It's that's prosperity in Luxembourg. We need to change behaviors. All of us need to change behaviors. I focus B2B and focus on the responsible acting managers in the companies. They need to change their behavior, and what is helpful is an indicator. The same language like in finance industry, you have a lot of indicators. So we need the clearly defined indicators for environment, such as carbon footprints, but also other environmental footprints, social footprints as well, there are a lot of profiles, but they need to be calculated. Yeah, thank you very much. They need to be calculated in the right manner. So our platform is TÜV certified, so the German TÜV third authority gave us the approval that the indicators are reliable. So if a customer is going to calculate the own indicators with Excel or manually, it's not reliable. So that is the point. And the third one, governance, also currently in the CSRD, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, is the so-called ESRS included, the European Sustainability Reporting Standard. It's a standard, and in the standards, the clearly defined algorithms are there. And we have the TÜV approval that we, in our platform, the right algorithms are included in formulas. And the idea is also like a controlling system, like a financial controlling system, to have a sustainability management platform to include it all and to steer your company more in the direction of sustainability and to show it, to show improvement. Not just to change and not just to try and not just nice to have, really to measure, really to calculate indicators and show your improvements and show also which part of your change is really an improvement in terms of reducing negative sustainability impacts.
So what I'm hearing here from what you're saying is that, okay, it's fine, there are regulations in place, you can have KPIs, you can measure it and so on, but the issue is still that people are not changing their mind. So this means we have a lot of norms out there, we have a lot of regulations, labels, etc., but it doesn't go far enough. So what is needed also for the customer demands to be met, the changes from the stakeholder perspectives and so on, which is slowly increasing, but still seems to be a minority because otherwise there would be more pressure. So what is really needed in order to go further?
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. We know, and especially as an entrepreneur, I know that a law, that government is a bad motivator. It's the worst. The next one is customers. Okay, if the customer wants to have some sustainability indicators, okay, it's a much better motivator. But the best one, obviously, is the intrinsic motivation of all the people, all the actors. As an expert, as a manager, as whatever I do in a company, I need to be aware about my personal impacts with the help of indicators, obviously, but we need to learn it. We even don't know. We need to learn. People need to learn in the business school here in universities, but also the existing people in the companies, as you mentioned, you need to do a lot to learn sustainability, to learn how to act more aware with my implications. Maybe a lot of people are doing some things at home. They try to reduce lights on, and something like that. But exactly or more, they need to learn also to act sustainable in their daily decisions. They have to do a lot of daily decisions. And are they aware about energy consumption, about social effects, especially when we see supply chains, not before we talk about global supply chains. So that is the reason why it is necessary to build up transparency. Our claim is we make sustainability visible, and then we, as people, we can act.
Mm-hmm. So when people have this video is, I mean, this is really interesting, and I think we're going to move a bit further also so that you have the possibility to ask some questions. Tips and tricks have been a lot here tonight, you know, from what is actually their tools in the market, also in collaboration with the ministry. We have what best practices have been in the culture changes and the mindset changes, how to incorporate the ESG into the employee experience and so on, the experience for the financial markets and especially for you with the carbon emissions and so on. I mean, the leak that was recently hasn't helped from the gas leak. That of course will also be considered in the end of the year results for that. So even if people are trying to slowly move on, we see that it's really, really difficult. I mean, it's really a mindset change, it is behavioral change and so on, and this is something that takes a long time. And in businesses, and this is what I wanted to just briefly talk about, this is that we need this change, we need to do it very slowly, but we need to know where we're coming from. So we really need to do a reality check and say, okay, where are we today? Whether it is with the KPIs in terms of the CO2s or the taxonomy, whether it is how is the engagement motivation and so on, what is maybe the retention, fluctuation and so on from the investor portfolios over to community work, etc. And then really to define where we're going, where do we want to be in 5 years, 10 years from now? What do we want to leave behind when we are maybe exiting our company later on or passing it up to someone else or in generations and so on? What do we want to create for the future? Help to design and innovate this and implement different actions. And then of course anchoring it, changing the mindset long term, improving constantly and so on. And this is where change management again comes in and where we are happy to support. But I'm going to back to the impact, and I'm just again going one too fast. We have to just accept that we don't know what's coming tomorrow, but we do know that we're not going to stay here forever. So we need to create something today that will for the future of all of us. So again, I'm coming back to the question, how do you want to be remembered? And what will your legacy be? How are you going to act on different topics that we have heard today? How are you going to go further? Thank you. Do you have any questions? Yes, please.
With, I mean, you talk about the gas leak recently,
Yeah.
which obviously had a terrible impact, but with the energy prices going up, do we think that that's maybe going to drive people to be more conscious about how they want our bills to go down, right? So we want to use less electricity, gas, whatever. Maybe that is somehow going to have a positive impact, do you think?
I think so, yes. But the first reaction was, oh, it's so expensive. The second reaction, oh, maybe I need to change my behavior. And that is, there are a lot of different studies. We talk about 10, 12, or up to 15%, which is really, really easy with small changes possible to reduce your own energy consumption. So really to think about, do I need to use my car, to travel by aeroplane or whatever. There are a lot of alternatives. But yeah, I hoped at that time maybe energy costs will change behavior, but yeah, like all the time, oh, the world is very bad, it's also so bad, but I can change, yes. So 15%, 12 to 15%, that is what is possible.
And price is also motivation, of course.
Yeah.
You talk about motivation, or you like
Yes.
this idea of price is right, but help for other behaviors. And you were talking about motivation, and a different one, or here in the room. The act we do every day is buying something, nearly. And the best motivation for that, what is it? It's desire. it's desired. So make sustainability desirable. That's it. That's something we if you want to change really, it this kind of things change the story we tell about sustainability. We have a negative story about sustainability. That's the point. And for people that are their drivers is values, let's say like that, or ecology and so on, or social values and so on. They will listen to that message. People that are driven by fun, how many are there? What's the percentage in the society? And so, and I was really impressed to be just a personal history, a personal story from my side. I went 4 weeks ago to a lecture done by a movie director, which is called Céline Dion. You heard about it perhaps. He did Animals and Tomorrow, The Man. And all the lecture was about the story. You will have to tell people to change their mind. How many times we received the advertising from ING? How many times from Coca-Cola? In the whole life, in our whole life, we receive every day lots of advertising. We never receive one about sustainability. Never, ever. Kids are more and more influenced by the so-called influencers. How many people are talking about sustainability in influencers, in social medias? These are the guys that will be, and girls that will be there tomorrow and will decide. And the move is, let's do it positively. It's so difficult. I don't have the answer. I see a journey to go over there, but I don't have the answer on that. How can we create something that will make us dream? We have some game changers at the moment. Yeah, you talk about taxonomy.
Taxonomy.
Yeah. We have, of course, the price energy crisis. We have the international situation with Ukraine. Of course, it's a game changer. But to go where? We go to something which is less good than before. And how can we? And I don't have the answer. I only have the question.
I have an answer for ING.
Yeah, of course.
Do your thing.
Yeah, of course.
Do your sustainable thing.
Yeah.
Maybe
this is
that's the
something,
next-
yeah.
Or do you think sustainable?
Sustainably.
Yeah.
Yep. Depending on the message you want to
Yes,
send.
Yeah. I will tell them.
You
Thanks
know
a lot.
how money
Yeah.
trade?
Yeah.
You have to change all
Thanks
the
for the tip.
advertising. And
Yeah.
Other questions? Paul.
It seems sometimes that in all of these discussions that the 800-pound gorilla that's in the room that's never talked about is the constant increase in human population. We talk about everything else, but we don't really talk about solving the problem of the constant rampant increase in human population. We keep finding better drugs to go ahead and prevent people from dying and from having diseases and fixing them. But at the end of the day, as a species, as we've become more and more successful, we are crowding out all of the other species on the planet by the sheer relentless numbers of human beings. I agree in all of the sustainable things we talk about, but I sometimes wonder, are we capable of going ahead and implementing things that will help us to be sustainable without dealing with the problem of constant and relentless human growth? Now, Elon Musk talks about going to Mars, but it's really expensive to go ahead and move a human being to Mars. And I don't really think we're going to be able to figure out how to get people there quickly enough to disperse the population over over places. So you've talked about everything else, but what do you think about that side?
Especially me? Yeah. Yeah. So the growth of the amount of people until now is not that problem. The problem is the prosperity. We in Middle Europe and in America, we are the source of 90% of carbon emissions and climate change. If there are a lot of other peoples in China, in India, in Africa, they see us, they see our prosperity, they see our cars, they see our movies,
And they want to be just like us.
Exactly, yeah. That will be a much bigger problem than now. So, but we need to change. We need to change. That's what is the change starts with the first step, and we have a really big impact on climate change, and we need to change. And yeah, whatever we can't stop the growth of the whole popularity, and we can't even say them all. You are not allowed to have this prosperity as us.
Actually, the best thing you can do to stop population growth is educate women, because the better you educate women, the fewer children that they have. So that certainly is one significant thing we can do. But am I hearing you correctly that what you're basically saying is yes, there is a lot that's happened in America, which is moving in the right direction. There's a lot that's happening in Europe. But if the rest of the population wants to live just like us, eating red meat, driving 2 or 3 cars, then the question is, unless we significantly, we used to reduce populations by having wars. Now we have wars that destroy things, but we really work hard to make sure that there are never any civilian casualties. We're not necessarily proving that rule in a certain part of Europe right now, but nonetheless we try. I still think the 800-pound gorilla is getting the population growth of humanity reduced so there's more room for the other species to live and thrive.
For the other species, right. So part of the EU taxonomy will be biodiversity. So that is very important. Absolutely, that's clear. But it's better. It's much easier to solve problems of the others. So we can show with our fingers to all the others they are not allowed to grow. But if you show with your one finger to the others, you need to remind that 3 fingers are showing to you. We need to change. We are here in Middle Europe. We need to start right now. And,
I like the idea of women's education. To make a parallel,
yeah.
microcredits. Most of them are given to women. Change is one of the channels, if I may, sorry for that horrible word, go through women, and especially mothers. We know why, and that's really fine. I'm happy for that. And education has an impact on sorts of behaviors. Perhaps one of the things is also to insist on that. Yeah. But
it's not the one or the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
There are a lot of good ideas.
Yeah,
to
but
work on it in parallel.
that's true that I personally only heard a few words about education, but it's also one of the exchange for companies, education for citizens is also so important from my personal view.
And this, of course, then goes to the businesses hiring women. Yeah, absolutely, and empowering through that. So, do we have any other questions? Yes, you.
Questions for the HR manager. To what extent has the sustainability effort in your bank enhanced your employer branding? Are you finding more young professionals because of that?
Excellent question. We are working on it. At the moment, our ING employer branding is not directly related to sustainability, except for the social all the events I mentioned. But we will have to work on it, of course, and we didn't talk about it yet. But let's see in a few years, 5 years, for example, talent will be well. We have a war of talent at the moment.
You have one already.
Yeah, we have already yet, but it will be much more difficult for young talents because they are much more driven by values and especially by sustainability. So this is also why it's so important as a company to work on that and to be sure that the talents of tomorrow, we will attract them, which is something, and we will retain them, which is much more difficult. Let's be honest, because especially the new generation, how can I say that fidelity to an employer is not something they really have at the top of their mind.
The purpose on top of their mind.
Sorry?
They have the purpose on top of their mind.
Exactly. Yeah.